So it's not an issue. Always good to have a backup. Let's see
Mhm.
here. Uh, there you go. Santa Claus. Is that all graphite? Graphite?
Yeah, that's all graphite drawing there.
Okay.
All graphite and eraser. Some rubbing and erasing. Like I talked about.
All right, for those tuning in, this is Let's Paint and Draw Along Something from Nothing, the last session in 2024. Welcome, Art Fam. I am Nadine O, and I'm here with Don Stevens, the extraordinaire art coach and artist from Don Stevens Art.
Hey.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Yeah, baby. I'm going to check and make sure we're looking good on all the different platforms. But the one thing I see Santa Claus. What
Yeah, that's a graph.
inspired you to actually dive in to the symbol of Santa Claus?
Say what?
What inspired you aside from the holiday of Christmas that you would do a portrait of Santa Claus?
That's the main reason.
Main reason. What he
Yeah.
stands.
Uh, of the holidays and of the period. Going
Mm-hmm.
into New Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then that image always has to be looked at. Like
Mm-hmm.
so images have to be looked at about what is that now in America, or what is that now in society.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all. You just giving a version and you're delving into some of the traditions so that you
Right.
can have your repertoire. So you have something that has a statement of that in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So inspiration, no, it's just that you're doing the work that's needed. That's what inspired it is the happiness of individuals and family and communalism, all those things you see socially. That's what, if you want to say inspired it, that's what inspired it.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I were to guess, I was gonna say that this was pencil and graphite, and I did ask you earlier to, with full, to be, you know, truthful. I did ask you about that, but it does look like graphite and pencil, that you
So why do you keep
created.
saying pencil? It's graphite. I
It's
don't know why.
graphite.
Yeah, why you keep saying pencil?
I don't know. Did you use pencil?
No, I think you're groomed just like so many others that think pencil when you see graphite.
Okay. So can we talk about that?
You just did.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is the
You know what I
assumption.
mean?
Hmm.
Say again?
So I guess the assumption that anything that looks like is created from a pencil, then you would
Why
say
do
pencil.
you keep saying pencil?
Hmm.
Why do you keep saying pencil?
I don't know because that was the first assumption. So you're saying it was totally graphite. No pencil was involved in this creation of Santa
Why
Claus.
do you keep saying pencil?
I don't
You're
know.
just you're not seeing what you're saying. You're thinking it's something else and something why do you keep saying pencil?
Because that because that is where I'm coming from.
What is a pencil?
A pencil is uh something that's made from graphite.
Why do
Usually,
why do you use the word of the material to describe what a pencil is then? What's a pencil?
I know. Well, this is really important. I don't. So the reason why I mention this is because we're having this wordplay right now between Don and I. Is because it's important for you.
No
That,
wordplay between you and I. There is no wordplay. You keep on saying it. I asked you, why do you
right?
keep using a word pencil when you
Because
already know that I said graphite and you say graphite pencil? wait a minute. Why you keep on injecting the word pencil? What
Um,
do you?
and because it's probably because of my own ignorance. I think graphite and pencil are kind of synopsis. They're kind of the same
What
thing.
you're not listening to what you're saying. I just asked you to describe what a pencil is. Your first word was graphite.
Right.
So why are you using the word pencil then?
Because that's how I've
If
been
I
groomed.
graphite, right? I said graphite. Your first word of description about what a pencil is, you said graphite.
Right.
So you ask yourself that question of, because a lot of times what you're not realizing is people will use the word pencil to belittle.
And that was not what my intent.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you
Mm-hmm.
use the word pencil,
Mm-hmm.
the immediate connotation is something lower.
Right.
But you're saying right, but you're not understanding when you use the word pencil. That's all I'm trying to get together.
I didn't think pencil was lower in the scale of materials.
Say again?
I didn't think pencil was low in the scale of materials. You're saying it is.
No, I didn't say it is. I said society has a connotation.
Okay.
I didn't say that's what it is. I asked you, what's a pencil?
Yeah.
You went into a whole diatribe. All I said was, what's a pencil? Your first word to describe it was based upon the material that I said I used, graphite.
Hmm. Right.
So then I went into the idea of letting everybody know that a lot of times when you use the word pencil, it can mean and denote the idea of being less than.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Pencil doesn't denote material.
Mm-hmm.
When you say pencil, it's just like, okay, pencil. It's like you're saying broomstick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But if you said wooden handle for broomstick, you still meant the same thing. But if
Mm-hmm.
you say graphite for pencil, depending upon the, surrounding conversation, it could mean a belittling statement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because a lot of people don't understand that pencils are just made out of graphite
Right.
on the marketplace. Now, if you want to say, okay, what you probably could have used color pencil or watercolor pencil or things like that. Well, no, because when you look at it, you wouldn't have said pencil.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see? So I'm all about that. Graphite doesn't mean that it's just a pencil.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's what everybody needs to understand about materials.
Mm-hmm.
Because just because a pencil, the word pencil is so common, does not mean that it's a rudimentary, less than apparatus. And a lot of times in society, that's what it is, especially now because of the computer. See, this is what the computer starts to, how would you say, mess with too as well in people's mind and experience. Because it's not about the tangible then, it's
Mm-hmm.
just a description.
Mm-hmm.
So the word, the descriptive word pencil scares
Mm-hmm.
away from the ultimate idea of what a pencil is. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, not to get on you. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? And
Right. But this, here's the thing. So, as I'm looking at it, I think maybe there are tons of people that would say the same thing.
no,
So,
they would. They
and
would.
so in our journey with Let's Paint and Draw Along, I felt as though I was somewhat the person voicing the sounds of what other people would say when
Yeah.
something would come up, which was I think was a beautiful dichotomy and an opportunity to really look at what we're saying, how we observe things, and how we get from point A to point B, or you know go through the
Very
journey.
here. Let's show it again.
Yeah.
Right. We have graphite sticks. We have a
Hmm.
ebony graphite pencil, and then
Hmm.
we have what you would call a regular number two pencil.
Hmm.
You see, the number two pencil is what everybody would say this was done with. when they say
Mm-hmm.
pencil. They're not saying, they're not thinking it's ebony pencil, which is in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
See, they'll think it's this because it's the most common.
Mm.
And then now, since it's the most common, they say, well, oh, did you do that with the pencil? You got to hear it in the person's delivery. They go, oh, it'll be high. Oh, is that in pencil?
Mm.
You hear how that sound when I used it that way?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the way
And
you said it, oh, Don, is that graphite pencil? That's different.
mm-hmm.
That's more so like inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one that I did, oh, is that pencil?
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Oh, it's pencil.
Right.
It's almost like it's borderline condescending the way
Mm.
that comes across. And I'm not saying the word pencil is derogatory. No, as far as art is concerned, I'm saying that word sometimes gets misplaced and misused. That's
Mm.
all.
Then, I mean, I guess maybe I'm saying something that is common knowledge with other artists selling their work. The value of a piece of art that is created by graphite pencil is less than, say, watercolor.
No, that's the
No.
problem. That's
Okay.
the connotation in society.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? That's what the marketplace and the people within the marketplace try to spin sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you go into art classes, art rooms, and art communities,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's seen that way, but on a small percentage. But when you get into the general public,
Mm-hmm.
then the word pencil slides into the idea of recreation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then that's where it's coming from. The idea that it's a medial instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So in open society, they look at it like what? Okay, if the skill base is not there, like what I have there, because that would compete with a watercolor version.
Okay. Yeah.
If the manipulation of the material is not there, then yeah, that way of saying or utilizing the word pencil can be derogatory.
Mm-hmm.
But as you're seeing with the Santa Claus here, you're saying that that wouldn't compete with a couple of watercolors out there to turn
Absolutely.
you
Yeah. Because
right.
I would almost think you did some kind of wash technique with it.
No, that's
Whatever.
all smudging, rubbing, and erasing.
Right. But what I'm saying is that could be a guess, which is just another layer of technique that's added to it. Um, but
Say that going
a
on in
sense
the
of
open.
there's a sense of intensity that maybe perhaps um and I'm not saying that pencil drawings can't give you that like pop or that wow, that intense um deepness, richness of gradation of colors.
Seeing
And
all of that and it being and it's showing to you right in front of you, or else you wouldn't say Santa Claus.
right. So
Whole idea of a charcoal drawing or a graphite drawing or a pencil drawing being less than another material is a fallacy
mhm,
because it's based upon the manipulation of the handler.
mhm,
It's based upon the intrigue of the audience, based
mhm,
upon what that particular artist is able to put on display with
mhm,
said material.
mhm. And so for example, we you could go throughout life, travel around to different places, and people are selling their art. And the question would be, why, what makes a great piece of art in terms of standing back and looking at it based upon what is created? And I think the first thing is, do you actually get the most important thing is what was the intent of the artist, which is I'm looking at Santa Claus. And he seems really jolly, maybe a little bit mischievous about, you know, what he wants to do for, to bring happiness to other people. I mean, there's more in this than just the normal, oh, this is just Santa Claus and he's coming down the chimney. I'm not belittling other people's art, but I think there's a little more going on in this piece that you have created here.
It's not the
Just
debate. The debate is the understanding of graphite opposed to saying I drew it with pencil.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That was the debate. The
mm-hmm,
debate or the slight how would you say flipping turns is the understanding of the full meaning of the word pencil
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and how it can be used, even in
mm-hmm,
an article. Because when people say pencil opposed to graphite, in the mind of the average everyday individual, citizen, participant in society, they don't hold the pencil high as an instrument. I'm not saying the skills now that you're seeing. This is outside of the skill that you're seeing. It's just the word. And when you see the pencil, like, okay, I'll do it again now with a better looking number two pencil. Here's a number two pencil that everybody recognizes.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
See?
mm-hmm.
Now, what do you think when I show you this?
I'm thinking school,
You,
homework,
you,
tests.
you.
Yeah.
Everything that is on the building blocks, the lower blocks, right?
Mm-hmm. You're right.
That's the way this pencil is looked at. This is looked
Mm-hmm.
at as a foundry thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's transcribed into meanings of human usage of being less than, greater than.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see, becomes an emotional instrument,
Mm-hmm.
but still a very powerful instrument because why? It's simple.
Mm-hmm.
So it's based upon the wielding of the holder.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why the word pencil is used in that way a lot of times, especially in the open market when we're talking about, okay, the differences between Charles White and let's go John Biggers.
Mm-hmm.
John Biggers, most of his work is done in color.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not that Charles White couldn't manipulate color because he did to be a muralist,
Mm-hmm.
but his main thing was drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So now when you look at his work, one would try to say, oh, well, that's just charcoal. And it's like, well, no, you're not buying the material. You're buying the idea, the content, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
You're buying the one of a kind idea or
Yeah.
expression.
Mm-hmm.
You see? That's why a pencil drawing can be $1 million
Mm-hmm.
because based upon the wielder of the instrument, what was their intent? What did they bring to us subjectively or objectively?
Mm-hmm.
How many awards did he win with this pencil in his
Mm-hmm.
hand? How many eyes or patrons did he wield
Mm-hmm.
with that pencil? And once you start asking questions like that, then you'll see, okay, I see what Don's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Even though pencil is looked at as recreation and foundry and less than, it's still just about the wielder
Mm-hmm.
of the person wielding the instrument or the material.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in your description of Santa Claus was what I was trying to bring across in his expression.
Mm-hmm.
Because the twinkle can mean mischievous a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sneaking into your house. That's mischievous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just the way you did the left eyebrow just up slightly,
That's
little
what I'm
bit
saying.
little bit of a curl in the mouth
That's
on the left side. The eyes
right.
are open. You've got the crinkle in the forehead a little bit that's raised. That's um, um, accentuating the eyebrow going up.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it was just that was the thing that I was just like, oh wow, he captured this one. Got it. And yeah, so that was just me. I don't know if anyone else is picking this up, and if you are, please leave a comment in the comment section because we want to hear from you. What do you think about uh
The
this
pencil.
rendition of Santa Claus by
And
Don?
if I just said to you, I did it in pencil, and then I just said, oh yes, I did it in graphite, what would your thoughts be?
Well, because of the way you said what you did it. Oh yeah, I did it in pencil, and then oh yeah, I did it in graphite. It's almost like it.
Right, it brings a downer to the
Mhm.
viewer.
Right.
That's that's why the word can be dangerous too as well, pencil.
So, so what you're saying as an artist is kind of important how you detail the materials that you use to create the piece if you're trying to sell it.
I would say manipulation because your manipulation of the material is your style.
Okay.
So once again, the way you wield the material of choice becomes your particular style.
Hmm.
Not unless you format yourself behind somebody else and strictly stay to that format.
Hmm.
But other than that, nah, your manipulation of the apparatus is going to be different from mine
Hmm.
because it's based upon your particular intent and all the other things that we talk about, how your journey and your experience is with the world around you,
Hmm.
you know?
Um, there's something that I thought about because I was having a conversation with one of our members about dealing with how you approach um, showing um, the flow of hair. How do you do that with the materials? Like, how do you use line to express, oh, this is hair? Like, I'm looking at the beard, I'm looking at the fur from the hat, and the things that really pop out to me. One probably would go right to the mustache, but I actually go straight to the beard. And then there was something really interesting that's happening to the ball that is on the hat on the right
Yes,
side, where a lot of it is fluffy, but in the far left hand corner, you have a hint of of darker lines that really accents the softness of the ball of the hat. So like I'm drawn to it's like I'm pulled between the softness of the ball of the hat and the amazing quality of the beard and the silkiness of it. Like I want to pull his beard kind of thing. And so
right.
those two things that I was looking at, and I think that um in terms of trying to capture the texture of hair with a medium, say like graphite, would be challenging in this case, and I think he did it masterfully.
Yeah, but it's not challenging because if you follow what I talk about with you guys and with you, line, shape, form, light, and surface.
Hmm.
Break it down by just looking at the picture and what you like. If you look at the line quality, that intensity that you showed us, that you talked about, that's on the edge of the face on the left side there,
Hmm.
in juxtaposition to the softness or the smearing or the smudging and erasing that gives you the intent of softness, that opposition there is what's attracting your eye.
Mm.
Then look at the value that's being used. But if you
Mm.
look at the ball and look at the eye, it has the same value movement.
Mm.
Upper left hand corner is a little bit darker. Then you come down and inside right is darker.
Mm.
You look at the eyebrow underneath the eyebrow on that side because you're getting shadow from the bridge of the nose.
Mm.
You see? So you play that up, and that gives you an intensity that's an attractor. So all
Mm.
human beings, when you're looking out in the universe, when you see soft backing hard, you're attracted. A
Mm-hmm.
hard edge and a soft edge attracts the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Does
Yeah.
it do it vice versa if I was to put the softness in front of the edge?
Mm.
Yes and no. Depends upon the placement of the values of darkness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like totally see. So you have the ball of the hat that
Right?
that's behind the right eye that actually makes the eye pop more because of the softness of it. And then you
Right.
have the thing that I don't know, what do you call it, that hangs down that holds the ball. And that's really dark because it's in the shadow side,
Right.
but this you clearly see the ball is soft, right? And then it, because it's soft and it's behind the cheek, and then you have the contrast of the contour of the line of the cheek, and then the shading. It just it it adds it adds it makes it seem more
Realistic.
dimensional,
Realistic.
realistic.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not as
Realism.
flat. It's not as
Wait,
flat.
you just express the idea of realism without it being photorealism.
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You mainly describe how something looks to you in a natural realm and it's
mm,
being back to you. So
mm-hmm,
since it's being given back to you, that's why it makes sense. It triggers your mind to say what it is that you're saying because it looks like a cheek. It's
mm-hmm,
forming like with
mm-hmm,
form.
mm-hmm,
See, so when you look at the lines, look at how important lines are, edges are.
mm-hmm,
So what the edge of softness looks like and what the edge of a crisp roundness of flat skin or tight
mm,
skin.
mm-hmm.
Because now if I kept everything hard like that edge, then his face would flatten off, puffiness in the beard would go away. But it's the interplay with the edge and you raise that gives you foundation of the belief that that's the hair.
Yeah.
Look
You
at how uh,
I just want to
mhm.
let you know you're breaking up just a little bit. I don't know if you're moving around or if someone is trying to text you or whatever. I just want to let people know that does happen.
Yeah. How do I sound now?
Better.
Yeah, I'll resolve come in a couple of days or a week or so.
Sure.
So we're working. So I do apologize,
Yeah.
everybody.
But we
But if
just
you
want
can
to let you
hear,
know that if you see Don live somewhere and then you go to text them to say, "Hey, I see you live," it breaks up the live signal. It's great that you're saying, "Hey,
yeah,
I see you live," but maybe you should, or maybe, can I give you advice? Go to the live stream and say hi on the live stream. It's
okay.
That's your digital dollars at work. Yeah, that's all I have to say. But yes, so I can hear
Yep.
you clear. And we were talking about how when you look at things, if you don't
Uh-huh.
show that contrast, in a way, it's kind of like you're doing a drawing for a coloring book, right?
Well, yeah, yes and no,
Oh,
because
okay.
I'm using it in the same way that I would watercolor.
Okay.
I'm using tonality in the same way that you would do it in oil. See, before now, our era, which we would see, the 19th century, which we would say like 1900s and onward, a
Mm-hmm.
drawing wasn't seen as something that can be sold on the market.
Mm,
A drawing was seen as a way of getting to some place or perfecting an idea.
mm,
So in let's say late 1800s, I would do several of these drawings the way you see it, right? And then I would do a quick oil sketch or gouache sketch to play with the color notations to see how the colors would go. And then I would go into my final portrait. Now, the only way you would see that drawing is if you was a patron that brought the final piece, one, because you may want to have some of the work that went into why that work was made. A lot of all those drawings from any artist that you want to see or talk about, it's a drawing, something like this, or just a drawing in general to show where the idea sprung forth from. Now, when that started to happen after the Impressionists did their thing, and I believe it was not Gauguin, or it was one of the guys that was able to do it, where his sketches were more delightful to patrons than the actual finished piece. So people started to purchase sketches openly, oil sketches openly, which led into people buying the drawings openly. And then now you have different people that are of the elite of any bubble that would, how would you say, inquire about the artist and then get the artist to, how would you say, do a portrait of them, specifically asking for charcoal if they saw it, specifically asking for graphite or pencil. Even the artists themselves, you read their memoirs, they would say, "Oh, I would never sell a drawing." You see what I'm saying? The part that they would say, "Well, how could I sell the drawing? I can't sell the drawing." Why? Because the drawing is where you found yourself. Speaking in those terms with those artists, they found their idea, the divided touch, that everything else was found out about. Now that everybody is gone and we're able to research their real memoirs and people are willing to let it go, is that they found all of that out in drawing. That raw idea of drawing. And in this interpretation, our conversation is about the manipulation of graphite, the power of smudging and rubbing and erasing, the power of application of an edge or a line, where you would place those darks and lights, those crisp lines and then those soft lines. Look at how the eraser has erased out those light areas that you was fond of in the forehead. That's all erasing. That's all erasing. But it's the manipulation of the material. That's why understanding this. So now if we go back to the idea of what you was bringing out, like, well, how do you, what is sold on the open market, basically? How is the price really right for a charcoal drawing or a graphite drawing or an engineering drawing or a drawing of the schematics of a comic book page before it's inked? You see what I'm saying? These types of drawings were never really sold. But now they're being sold. Now, why are they being sold? Because of the moments that they represent. You see, they represent moments in history. Why? Because when you go back and research the individual artist name and the company connected to it, and then the genre that it's all connected to, you'll see that it's still sustaining itself. And then when you go and you talk to some of the top or the lower or the novice of that genre called comic books, you'll hear certain names ring out. And then that name becomes something. Why? Because people are still mentioning that name. Stan Lee. So say, for instance, you have some jottings on some paper and you went to a conference and you was talking with Stan Lee and he got to jotting down something and signed his name to it and just slid it to you on some blind impulse. And you still, and you go back to the open market. And it's because Stan Lee and what the impact or iconic impact that he had on society or a part of society or a genre in society, you see what I'm saying? Or a genre within Western and world history. It did not penetrate to that point. Yeah, so then that's what makes those drawings that important. The last part of it is they're not here a lot of times anymore. So now it becomes a true limited idea. So now if you have that jotting of Stan Lee, there can't be any more made.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's limited. It's so limited that it's one of a kind.
Yeah.
Think about it, you see. So now that value skyrockets once everybody authenticates that, yeah, that was really Stan Lee that wrote that
Mm-hmm.
down. So then how else is the artist's work getting accreditation? It's based upon who and what it touches and how many.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is,
So then that's what makes those drawings what it touches and how many.
got to echo.
The other one is, so then that's what makes those point. Yeah.
That
So
means,
then,
Mm-hmm.
all right, everything okay?
Yeah, sorry, had a little echo.
Oh,
I was
but,
checking Facebook
oh, okay. But
in our
yeah,
group. Sorry about that, folks. And so how
okay. But that's what it is to have value for a particular artist on the open marketplace. You know what I mean? And that's how a drawing has value.
mm-hmm.
Because as a material or as a modality, sometimes that's where the battle comes in. Even when you talk about the Poussin and the
Mm-hmm.
Raphaelites
Mm-hmm.
or Raphael,
Mm-hmm.
check that everybody in history. What happens is in world history, you had an argument over there in Europe at one time, and you had a bunch of people that followed a guy named Poussin.
Mm-hmm.
I might be enunciating his name wrong, but please, if I am, please correct me in our comments and things like that. But Poussin was the guy that did a lot of formal work.
Mm-hmm.
He was all about the form, drawing, showing the formality of things. That through drawing is where ultimately everything is. Without drawing, things are lifeless without form. How could you show something formless? That was the argument of the Poussinese. The Raphaelites, though, they believed in color,
Mm-hmm.
full color, because of Raphael the Great. And they said, hogwash, color is everything. Because if that form ain't drink with that beautiful color, nobody is interested.
Mm-hmm.
It is through color that everything is advanced and triumphant. Yeah, you can really go. This is not Don saying this stuff. This is Don interpretation
Mm-hmm.
of when I bumped into it and I saw it like a real cool fight and battle. I was like, wow. So people that drew battle with people that mainly painted.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't even talk about sculpturists.
Right. You see what I'm saying?
So
But they fit into this category too because they would fit in with the Pusanese.
mm-hmm.
Think about it. Edge meant everything to them. Color didn't mean anything if I'm sculpting in marble.
Mm-hmm.
It was the marble itself that gave the life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With me augmenting what? Chips,
Mm-hmm.
scrapes to make you see line, form, light, surface.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's the placement of that line that makes that apparatus, once again, that I pull out, makes it seem like it's rudimentary or masterful.
Mm-hmm.
It's based upon who's wielding it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens with the word pencil, even on the open market. Because think about it. You do a drawing, you put it in a frame, you put it up somewhere. And if you listen to how people react to you and the painting or and the drawing,
Mm-hmm.
you may really start to understand that misconception.
Mm-hmm.
Because based upon the person's high and low in the delivery, it could say to you, I believe you're less than using a pencil, or it can mean, wow, I've never seen pencil used in that way.
Right. Unless it's the original pencil drawing of a movie.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You see,
now
I know this.
now they say, oh, this has value because the movie sold so many copies, and so this.
Yeah, let's give an example. The Aliens movie, the artist for the Alien movie.
Yeah.
I forget his name, but they got big, huge books on his wall.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if I can find them while you're doing it.
drawing style and his uses of ink and charcoal and things, and him using airbrushing. And we're just talking about the drawings to get to everything that you saw in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Started from his drawings.
Geiger?
Yes.
Okay.
Matt Geiger. Isn't his
H
name? I think.
H.R. Geiger.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, everybody. Let me be quiet on that.
Matt Geiger. Was that
That's
somebody
the
else?
other cartoonist guy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But him, Geiger, you see how there's so much information on him and his drawings and the uses of his drawings, and
Yes.
how mainly from the Alien triptych or series, he got other movies that he did drawings for.
Mm-hmm.
And they were seen as innovative because they gave you this feeling of something beyond that you've never seen, but you could feel it for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
The shininess of the exoskeleton of the alien.
Mm, yeah.
Look at the words I even used to describe it. You know what I mean? That was his intent. I want you to feel like that's a bug skeleton on this lizard type creature.
I don't even know if we should show it, but I'm telling you, it looks like a fossil
Believable.
that's stuck in stone, where you
Yes.
see the ribs and everything. It's intense.
Unbelievable manipulation of
I
form.
don't want them coming for us, Don.
Okay. But just give the name though so everybody can just go and check it out. That's all.
Yes. Yes, yes. So, I mean, there's all you have to do is look up artist H.R. Geiger, Giger, you know,
And you
who
won't
felt
be
he
disappointed.
never got the credit. Some people say he felt like he never got the credit. Let's
Well, that's
see.
because he thought himself grandiose more so than what his particular title was in this situation. Even
Right.
though you see the director,
Mm-hmm.
once again, here is that word penciling and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's secondary. He's
Mm-hmm.
looking at it like, if you really read his story, he's looking at it like, I'm the person that pretty much gave you your imagery. I'm the person that gave
I
you everything.
created the alien. I should get more
Right,
money.
right. That's
Mm-hmm.
all that's an argument of. But you can argue within the system of capitalism, within the movie genre that we're talking about, and how do contracts and things and titles work. You can ask your question based upon that. These are the things that I didn't get in college that you have to start to conversate about. You know what I mean? The importance of the artist in the said so-called project. Because that's what his argument and a lot of artists' arguments are,
Mm-hmm.
that are what they call them, creative advisors, as they try to say.
Yes, and I just want to say one lesson that I've learned, okay,
Mm-hmm.
from my journey is if you work for someone else as an artist, as a creator, and while you're on the clock, you create something else, like you get a brain fart, you start drawing and scribbling, and you're on the clock, you know who owns that? The people you work for because you were paid. You
No, see,
were
and
paid.
then this is where I would debate that concept with the Mexican muralists,
Yes,
especially. Yeah.
but see, I think many companies learn from that, and that's what they use. You were on the clock to
That
create.
loophole. Now that loop, if you look live action right now, Nadine,
Yeah.
that loophole is still there.
Well, I wish I knew it, and I wish a couple other people knew it.
Yeah,
Why?
because am I doing it? This
Their
is the
stuff was
argument.
stolen.
Now, in that situation that you talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
If my doodlings or my drawings at that time are not direct towards what my contract states I'm supposed to be drawing for you,
Mm-hmm.
then no, those drawings are not yours.
But so here's the thing. If the contract is detailed, say like you're an artist,
I
you're
just
a,
gave you.
you're an
That's why you.
artist
That's the
for
way. That's the way I've gotten out of those situations. I'm
okay,
trying to say.
I won't say it.
The way I got out of the situation was you don't do anything that's involving that project.
I agree. But if
if
it's
we're doing,
very broad,
a movie, like, look, come on. If you was doing a movie and you hired me as your creative assistant or creative director, and the movie was based upon ducks,
mm-hmm.
if I'm sitting down during, director's times and those hours, and I'm doing drawings of ducks loosely, then yeah, that can be used because it has ducks in it. My intent, I was drawing ducks.
But
But
if you drew an ant and somebody came by and said, you know what, that ant would go great in the scene.
I would say that would be great because now we would have to redirect my contract. So I need more money for the ant
And a lot of people don't do that.
because they don't know to do that.
Yeah, right. And that's the slippery slope when you're
Right,
dealing
because
with big
now what
entities.
happens is you may fall out of favor with that particular director or
Right,
creative
because you're doing that. Yeah.
question. Yeah, you see it, and then
I
now all of a sudden you're blackballed
yes.
because you asked the question at an inopportune time for them, but a very opportune time for yourself. So that's why I say it's even more so important outside of what we're talking about is that in the colleges that they start, how would you say, showing students the economics.
Because the value of what you're creating, the person who owns it has the power. Then they take away whatever, even if you're giving it away to them
Yes and no. Because if I'm
without
still
knowledge.
no, if I'm still on it and it can be authenticated that my particular hand was utilized in the finishing of that project, guess what? You still have to pay me.
And they'll pay you for the hour.
That's what I'm saying. And you have to be okay with that.
Right,
Any other money they make off of it, you're going to have to take that as a loss, but understand how to utilize that energy.
right.
So if that particular project soars and makes 100 million,
Now you got
based
to
on
renegotiate.
no, what I got to do is put things in alignment that I had going. That when I was moving, I can use some of that energy, some of the drag off of that energy of that project because my name's still going to appear.
Right. But do you know how many people have
A lot
found
of
themselves in the situations like that, where their ideas were taken and they ran with it, and until they decided they didn't need it anymore and said, "Oh, we're not going to do that anymore."
well, yeah, that's unfortunately that's the way it goes when you're talking capitalism and you're talking paperwork.
Mhm.
Honestly, that's the way it rolls. And if you're not emboldened enough to understand it even on its fundamental base, that
Mhm.
you're a creator and
Right.
everything you create has a particular value, whether you want to look at it or not, in
Right.
those
That's the most important thing.
and
That
that
what you
ownership.
create has value.
Right, but it only has value based upon the impact on the market or on the populace around it.
Got it.
Think about it. If I don't impact the economic bubble of the Mid-Atlantic region on a certain level, or I don't get attention by being in any one of the periodicals of the time period, how am I adding validity to my name?
Hmm.
How many people have bought my work to make an impact? Did 10,000 plus people buy my work in Philadelphia in order for me to be able to be recognized in the annals of artists of the time period in that particular marketplace
Mm.
to be seen as significant?
Hmm.
Because really, that's how it works.
Mm.
I would like for anybody that's enjoying an artist that they're enjoying, and it's an artist that's before the 1900s, or heck, even in the mid 1950s or so, your favorite artist. I
Hmm.
named off two artists, Charles White and John Biggers. Flip
Hmm.
to the back to their bibliographies or their biographies and see what awards that they won. See
Hmm.
where their art is placed in society, and you'll see why the name has to be brought up.
Hmm.
They won national awards. That means they won United States national awards.
Hmm.
That means all regions, their artwork is being seen.
Hmm. Hmm.
That means everybody that's an elitist in every state, every marketplace knows of my artwork at that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, when you get to international, that means what? You got France, you got the whole German, the whole European Isle, parts of the African Isle, you know what I mean? Part of Europe, part of Asia, Asia Minor, as they say. These are all the overseas or international marketplaces.
Mm-hmm.
So now when you see somebody getting that acclaim, you got to understand they got both sides of the bubble rocket.
Yeah.
That means that every marketplace on the planet knows of their work.
Mm.
That means that not the common person, but from the common person all the way up to the elitist knows of this person's work.
Mm. Mm.
So now if you relook at artists when they're trying to say something is worth 20 or 30,000, yeah, it's your right to say that a drawing is 20 to 30,000. But then the person purchasing has to have a certain type of observation to understand what's going on around them, to be able to say, well, wait a minute, I haven't heard of you in my local marketplace. I wasn't able to find you, you know, so why would I pay you 5,000 when I can investigate and get somebody that's in the marketplace and place those monies and get a direct more return on my money based upon their placement and what they've done, you see?
Demand.
Right. Because it still has to be there. That's the pedigree. So then how many state awards? How many national awards? Is there any international awards?
Mm-hmm.
The elitists of that area, the names of those elitists, do any one of them say this person's name?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does Bridget Mayer have his artwork?
Mm-hmm.
Think about it now. That's the elite.
Mm-hmm.
Caters to the elite.
Mm-hmm.
If your work is with her in the future, it's going to be worth something. Why? Because she dealt with the elite.
Mm-hmm.
So she's saying every artist she deals with is of value, of market pedigree. Yeah, people don't look at that. I try to explain that to a lot of people. You know what I mean? When they out there trying to sell their artwork and they're worrying about this, that, and the other. I tell them, don't worry about all of that because it's not going to come to you unless it comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
That means that you have to work. You got to keep creating because you only to try to get it based upon you doing one or two pieces, putting it on the internet. If you don't have an engine behind you, then it's not going to get seen as much as you think it's going to get seen.
Yeah, and some people use engines like storytelling or using other formats to get people to get to know them. Like,
Right. But when you're talking about what we're talking about, notice and notoriety is two different things.
right.
Notice is like a local paper giving you, a quarter paragraph and two pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Notoriety is the elite of that bubble are taking notice to you. It's
Mm-hmm.
different.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. It hits different if, say, for instance, the Philadelphia Museum was the only place where I showed my work.
Mm-hmm. Only, but it's the
Yes,
Philadelphia Museum.
the Philadelphia Museum of Art. That's
Right.
a national platform.
Yeah, but if you're going to show it,
Right. And now who am I showing to? Whoever comes through that door.
right.
So everybody that comes through that door has to be people of knowing of something or enjoying of something.
Yes.
And now that's going to be the elite because my work is going to be right next to whose? All the masters
All
of
the
time memorial.
mm-hmm.
So now
Right.
my validity and notoriety done went through the roof now.
Right. And that's the
You-
struggle. That's the struggle of artists to
Right.
get
No, that's the journey, I would say, because let's look at another one that's local to us, Yvette Ballard. We look at her. She's been on Time Magazine
mm-hmm.
twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's look at it. Notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
She is there.
Mm-hmm.
She's a national and international phenom now.
Mm-hmm.
Just from doing that twice.
Mm-hmm.
Because Time Magazine does a special edition
Mm-hmm.
for the artist and the cover work, and then it's produced, mass produced, and placed internationally and nationally.
Mm-hmm. And it's on the web, so people can go and play it back over and over again.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about, forget the web. We're talking about notoriety. When we talk about basic notoriety, the
Mm-hmm.
web is something new and different now that you have to throw that into a different category within what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can be a total unknown. Nobody don't know you, and you're in high school, and you did a drawing of your favorite actor.
Mm-hmm.
And your description is, here is my pencil drawing of Tom Cruise. Mm-hmm. I'm being honest. And now
Right.
all of a sudden, that drawing, that picture, gets 100 million views.
Yeah, because one person who was famous liked it.
Thank you. Somebody somewhere liked it, and all of a sudden, it done blew up in what we call now a new category, viral.
Viral. Yep.
You see, and which outdoes the phenomenon of local,
Mm-hmm.
national, and international. It goes straight to international.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If it goes viral, it's known. It's a worldwide phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
Now everybody that hustles anything, capitalistically speaking, is talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
You made an impact on society. The old way said, no, you ain't supposed to get that like that. You're supposed to put your work in these contests. You see
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Way.
and they're a little bit mad too. They're kind of mad at social media right now.
You see what I mean? Because somebody that hasn't done anything really in their life,
But
they
it's
haven't.
not like they don't have the skills. It just,
That's not the point. It's the timing now that I'm talking about.
yeah, yeah. But it can happen within anybody. People who,
That's what I'm saying. Yes,
do
I mean,
quilts and,
yeah. But then you have people looking at quilting like, what's the big thing? I
right.
love it.
I
Don't get
love
people.
quilting too. Yeah.
I know the women saying, I don't know what the big thing is. I do these all the time.
This is crazy.
And I say, well, go to the museum and gallery and really see what they're doing.
Hmm.
And it's women
And it's
that you'll look
coming from something. It's
at
coming
and
from
notice.
years and years ago.
Right. But then this is what I'm saying about the marketplace.
Hmm.
Because of the internet now, since you brought that up and going viral and all this stuff, people don't know what quality is anymore.
Hmm.
So the idea of quality, when you would get your name to where I just said Levette Ballard is, where she can get Time Magazine 2 times.
Hmm.
Hey man, back in the day, that was it. She was definitely somebody.
Hmm.
Everybody be calling her for advice, and that. I don't know if that's not is or is not happening, but I know because of that placement, and I clap it up and I salute her all the time for it, is that that's how an artist would get notoriety.
Right.
You know, pedigree and all this good stuff.
Mhm.
You see? Yeah, see, I got people trying to hit me again. I'm sorry, Nadine.
Because, hey, listen, Don, man, Don's got everybody hitting him up. Why aren't you hitting him up live here, right now? That's what we want to know because you're watching Let's Paint and Draw Along. That's right. How you doing, Suan?
One.
I'm good. I'm doing good. Thank you.
That's great.
I'm doing
Now
great.
I know. So you're feeling pretty good because I think I saw you said you had surgery, and
Yeah, my new,
yeah, and I just think it's so encouraging that even though you've been having a few challenges about, getting better and having the surgery, but you've still been creating art, and it's so inspiring.
thank
And
you.
But that's the beauty. That's the beauty of what it is we do, because she's saying that if she didn't create, she really would be sick.
yeah.
I know Sue-Ann, I can answer that one real quick. I'm telling you, with Sue-Ann, she's the model of what it is we're talking about keep creating.
Mm-hmm.
When you
Mm-hmm.
create, oh my God, the beauty that goes into your body is unknowing.
Mm-hmm.
The relief and release.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be quiet after that. I'm sorry, Sue-Ann. You just got me motivated like that.
Well, she gets me motivated. I'm like, I'm feeling a certain way, and then I look and I love that you send me messages, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I need to be painting more, drawing more, you know, and
Got to, got
yeah,
to.
Yeah,
yeah,
for
yeah. I
me,
do
I say,
different
for
mediums,
me,
so mhm.
yeah, for me, it says to me, Don, keep doing what you're doing. You're on point. That's
Yes,
what it's
absolutely.
like. Individuals like Sue-Ann, really
Mhm.
taking on that challenge of the word keep creating.
Yes,
And I appreciate you for it and thank you for showing it all the time, Sue-Ann. I love your drawings or your paintings that you did, especially the one of your sister with the glasses on.
yeah. That's what had me like juiced up today when I was talking to you. You know,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
So
up and everything geeked up. Okay, how I
juiced
understand it.
up, juiced up. Now, the medium that you used, Sue-Ann,
It's
was
acrylic.
that acrylic? Okay, all right. I gotta work on acrylic more.
You just gotta play with it some more. That's all.
hmm hmm
Play with it. That's what
But
I tell everybody. Play with it.
I've been loving Sharpie art and
Oh, you like the immediacy. That's what it is. You like the immediacy.
yes. And you know what? It goes right back to news, unfortunately. I
Yeah,
still I still haven't released the news
you're
business
not.
from my blood yet. I want to.
You're gonna transform it and mutate it into some new thing now.
hmm I
We're all
hope so.
traveling through that journey with you. Every bit of that journey is being made on things like when you do things like this. You're not at the full, how would you say, creative
No.
thing that you formed yet. You're still formulating.
Yes, I am. I'm still formulating. I mean, I'm like playing my hand drum and singing and drawing and
You're
writing
transforming
poetry.
data. You're looking at data. You're saying what data is useful. You're updating data. You're downloading new data.
Yeah.
You're erasing old data that's taking up space. Let's
hmm
talk about it in computer technology talk. You know
Let's
what I
talk
mean?
about it.
And you'll feel better.
I got a download today, and it was all
There
because
it
of
is.
Sue Ann.
There it is. There it is. You know what I mean?
I had a serious download,
Yeah.
which was really talking about um, texture and shapes, and the beard,
Oh, and how all of that
like what
works
you
together.
did with the beard. What do
Yeah,
you
here.
think about that, Sue Ann?
I
Did
love it.
you
I
hear the
love
part when I was talking about his beard and the little
the little ball.
puffball?
Yeah. Yes, I did. I really love that. Where the fuzziness of it contrasted to the line of the face. That's really appealing. And the beard with the lines. Yep. Graphite is amazing. The erasing and everything that you can do. Yeah, graphite is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think.
I mean, it's limitless what you can do with graphite, everybody. That's what it's doing underneath my hand. The whole thing is what is it going to do underneath of your hand, everybody? You
hmm
know, that's the main thing. I love, like how you say pencil, ever since I was 3. So I know how to wing a pencil around. You know what I mean? So now that's why I call it graphite even more because I understand what it is now and the whole market thing that we were talking about, all that good idea, the connotations on how a pencil can be uplifting and degrading at one point by usage. But nonetheless, if you really look at it in drawing, it's a journey of finding, exploration,
hmm
lost and found. You know what I mean? And then once you do find it, you're like myself. You have a language that you can speak to everybody. So whether we want to look at it or not, as a whole or individually speaking, uh, we all want to have a language, a visual language. That's what this is. Smudging, rubbing, and erasing. Line, shape, form, light, and surface. The understanding of those premises helps you with your language, your visual language, so you can communicate to others. Now, how do you sell that on an open market is persistence and consistency and placement now.
Mm-hmm.
Do I place it in national shows? Do I place it in local shows? Do I put it in the corporate elitist realm? You know what I mean? Do I go for governmental grants? Do I go for fellowships? You know, what are these things? Are these things important, or do I just, because I love doing it, just show my work at all the local events that I can find? And I'm happy with that. I'm happy with showing my work at a restaurant. I'm not saying me, I'm just saying this is an angle that you can do with that, because at every place where humans gather, you have an opportunity to show your visual language,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So that's what I'm an advocate of. Keep creating, utilize it, manipulate with charcoal or graphite. Understand what a line and an edge is. Understand how that line and edge can work together to make shapes, to make forms, to give you an impression of light, and to give you the roughness or rawness of surface.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Sue-Ann made mention to the differences between the lines of
Noel.
Sorry.
the lines of the skin, the lines of the beard,
Mm-hmm.
and the fuzziness of the ball. The
Mm-hmm.
same thing that pulled out too. But how did I show you those differences? Through tonality,
Mm-hmm.
through the idea of what surface is.
Mm-hmm.
Notice the surface movement or the movement of the smudging on the skin is not the same as what's going on in the beard.
Yeah.
As what's going on in the fuzziness of the fur ball on
Mm-hmm.
the fez or hat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those differences that when I talk about with everybody is line, shape, form, light, surface. You look at the drawing and then take those 5 things that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's paint and draw along. And now, if you can see it in this drawing, you just look around you now, and then try to describe your world based upon understanding of line, shape, form, light, and surface. And you'll see even more that you have to understand how to manipulate the material to get the effect. You know what I mean? That you, or the phenomenon of what you want to come across.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the differences in the hair that's in the corner of the hat on the right side compared to the beard.
Mm.
There's differences all over the place that you take advantage of. That if you don't see them, then you won't take advantage of. But the moment that you see them or you made aware of it, then now you're forced to utilize that in your creations. Because now once it's exposed to you, it's hard not to look at it.
Mm.
Good point.
So if you apply the same thing, whether it's there or you're describing things like this with just pure line.
Mm-hmm.
I was having a session with somebody where I was discussing pure line and ink and line drawing. But the eraser board is the best thing to show it, because on the eraser board, I'm doing the same thing that you would do as a Sharpie drawing, the same thing you would do as a pen and ink drawing, a line drawing, a ballpoint pen drawing. So it's easier to show the ideas on how the accumulation of line can denote the idea of surface, the idea of movement, and the idea of light value or tonality or achromatic. You see, you notice how the one is a circle there that's like a sphere with straight lines, though, mainly using straight and curved and a curved line. How do you show, how could you show dimension and form? And the other one is showing with a short stroke how you would show the movement of light or the darkness. The box is showing the accumulation of line to show darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So if the light's coming out of the box, you can see it on the top, the lines are wider apart. And then the one that's facing us on the right side is pretty much straightforward, but it's 2 movements. And now you look to the left side, there's a true crosshatch where there's multiple, all 5 movements. And then on the ground, there's a tight coil of line that's making you believe darkness, darker than that darker side. So then now you have 3 different values working. just based upon line placement, or what they call timing of line, mark making, and all that good stuff. The placement of line, that's everything, everybody. So that's what brings us back to that idea of the Poussinese or Poussins and the Raphaelites. Because that's our earliest debate and argument over what's more important, form or color. Now, me, I don't argue it no more, because my thing is that your hand is doing the same thing, whether you're drawing or painting. The manipulation of the material by hand states that you're doing the same movement. So my argument is personally that when you're painting, you're still drawing. And there are some artists out there, European masters and others, that have that same sentiment. Because, you know what I mean? It's a thing of, what is your body doing? That's what I'm saying at that point. If you're painting or drawing, you're still manipulating something that's outside of you.
You're still making lines. You're still making shapes.
Right, but then it's just a matter of what's in your hand. I could prick my finger and use the blood or the life force that's in my finger.
Or you drawing or you painting.
Right, exactly. You see, that's where it comes from. If I dip my finger in a cup of milk, you know what I mean, and I start drawing on paper, you know what I mean? Am I drawing or am I painting? If I dip a crow quill in ink, am I drawing or am I painting?
But if you were doing words, then you would be
writing.
Writing.
But it's not drawing. You see what I'm see how tricky?
Oh, wow, this is
Interesting.
Yeah.
These are the things that I used to think about in college with other friends when we would be in the library. Like, yo, this is crazy. Yeah. Right. So how come they don't say writing is drawing or drawing is writing?
Yeah, why don't they do that?
Well, it's how would you say, it's a thing of less than, greater than.
Oh, so one is recreational and one is necessary?
Yeah. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, I know, but if you go and you look and you start researching like you do, Nadine, you're gonna run into some more interesting stuff with that idea right there. You're gonna be like, oh wow, this is very interesting now. This is getting weird.
Like,
but
like the whole thing, you're signing your name.
Right. But you're not drawing.
You're not drawing your name.
Right.
You're writing your name down. You're signing. Well, actually, now they say signing.
Because it's a cross between you being creative. They know that you're expressing your name. In expressing your name, you're expressing yourself.
Right, but then what is calligraphy?
That's what I'm saying. That's why they had to change that up and call it signing or signage or signature.
So what they call things is it makes a big difference.
And who says what is of value?
That's the content. Because if the elite of your bubble take notice, then it becomes something of interest. If the elite of the world participate in it, then now you're definitely a world phenomenon. You change world history now. Now, after that point, it depends upon everybody underneath of that idea or banner to be able to say whether or not you're valid in its appointment of being raised up in front of society in this way and in front of the world, not just nationally, internationally. That's why if you had one of Jesse Owens' sneakers right now that he signed and just threw away, and you just so happen because your grandparents kept it long enough and your parent knew what it was and kept it and showed it to you, and you go on an open market and see what an item like that would cost right now, you would be sick.
You would do a double take. Is something wrong with me?
Right. And then you'll turn out like a lot of people start how would you say, collecting memorabilia of all eras and the present era. You know, because why would a penny that's minted in 1954 be worth value of over than a cent now?
Because they did something wrong. It was something wrong in the print. Printing process.
There you go. That made it one of a kind.
Yeah.
And now that it's one of a kind, if you got it in your dispensary, if you got it, guess what? You're the owner of a new $20,000 penny.
So, really, is the journey of an artist to create something that is one of a kind?
Well, by its nature, it's one of a kind, I would say. Now, this is
Unless
where,
you do prints,
well, no, even then, it's
series.
still one of a kind then too as well. What I'm saying is just the artist himself or herself, once you do a drawing like this,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
Find me another version that's just like what I just did.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Mm-hmm.
can't find me another version, that's my version, and that would be one of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
Now I would have to take this drawing and put it against all the other graphite drawings that's been known of Santa Claus
Mm-hmm.
to be able to say, where does mine stand present day, to be able to say, no, mine is outdoing or in stance with, or I'm more current because I'm still living, based upon I'm proving that the graphite drawing stands up within the open market of what graphite drawings of Santa Claus look like. I know that sounds cold, everybody. I know that sounds desensitized. But if you really look at the open marketplace, where, you know what I mean, artwork is being, I would say, tossed back and forth as a commodity at that point, then you'll understand it a little bit more. If we're talking about somebody that's doing work because they love doing work and they're just only worried about what's going on around them, and they're fortunate enough to be able to get the attention of over 5,000 or 1,000 plus people in their local area, then yeah, they're locally known. And if they don't, I know people that don't move past that. They don't care to. They love where they're at with that. So it depends upon the artist and the marketplace, the people observing and purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that Santa Claus.
Yeah, isn't it awesome?
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah, the intent was to get that twinkle,
Yeah.
that halfway mischievousness and kindness and loveliness.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to tell people when they ask me about it too, like how you asked me earlier, Nadine, think about it. This guy is sneaking in your home.
Yep. Down the chimney.
Right. In your home with good intentions.
Mm,
Unheard. You see, so he has to have a little bit of a mischievous edge to him, but not so much that it's cynical and diabolical. You see what
mm,
I'm saying?
mm,
So yeah, he has the twinkle that's childlike.
mm,
Because sometimes when you look at some of the kids' pictures online or in some of these blooper videos that you see, and stop it when they're smiling when they get caught doing something. It's
mm.
the most cutest, cynical, savage little smile that you'll ever see.
A little bit of a rise on one side. And,
So the forehead comes forward a little bit.
mm,
One eyebrow will go up slightly, the other one go down.
mm.
The slight bashfulness, bad boy, bad
It
girl thing.
wasn't me. It wasn't me
Yeah,
kind of thing.
there you go.
It was
That's
my
what I was
sister.
trying. Right. That's the type of feeling I was trying to grasp in the expression of this Santa Claus bird.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know? And then once you get it, the audience will tell you. I felt it when I got it. I was like, oh, I got it. I got the twinkle.
Hmm.
From
Hmm.
the eyes out. You know, a lot of times to get your expression together, after you get all the forms together, you work constantly from the eyes out. I know that I do. Is
Hmm.
it a suggestion? Yes, it's a suggestion. When I'm coaching, I give.
Hmm.
Portrait, you get everything all formed up, and now you start going back work from the inside out. Every passage is from an inside out, from the eyes out.
Hmm.
My other idea is this: if the eyes work and everything else fell, all everybody's going to say is, "My God, you got his eyes."
Yeah.
And that's going to win out in any scenario.
Hmm.
Well, a lot of times when I enter contests and stuff, I don't worry about winning the contest. I worry about how many audience eyes do I grasp and who wants to purchase right off the wall.
Hmm.
If I get you to purchase from the show, I care less about the show. You You know? Yeah, because my work grabbed your attention. It didn't grab the attention of the jurist, but it grabbed the attention of the viewing audience.
Mm-hmm.
It grabbed the viewing audience to the point where a patron revealed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I tell other artists and people too, you can win the show all day. I'm looking for eyes and patrons.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Keep
if I
your
get a
eyes on
patron,
the prize.
right, because if I get a patron to pay attention, then I don't know when this person is going to ignite, but they're going to ignite and then may lead me to other people. They may purchase prints and things like that, seasonally or things like this. So then if that's done, that outweighs anything I could have won in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a patron now, I have a constant person that I can show things to, and then they may say yay or nay and send me 50 to $100 or $10 to $50. And that's how it translates.
Mm-hmm.
But is that my intent when I'm first doing the work? No.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, when we're talking about intent, my intent is not to say, oh, I'm making a Santa Claus to make money.
Mm-hmm.
No, in my mind, I was making a Santa Claus that captures the true essence of what a Santa Claus would be, present time sneaking in your house.
Mm-hmm.
And you being in agreement with this because you're so technically sound.
Stephanie algorithm, FaceTime video.
If his face ain't like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to deter you from screaming, hollering, and calling the cops.
Right. Ah, the cops are, Santa Claus is in my house. There's a white man in my house.
That guy in my house, I couldn't tell if he was black or white because it was dark. He had this strange candle look in his eye, and he was grinning. I don't know if he was grinning out of good or bad. I don't know if he was going to kill me or love me. You know? That's what I was.
And then you have to apologize when you realize it was Santa Claus. Do I still get my presents?
Right. Come on, dog. Don't take them back. Can I GPS you? I text you. Come on, Santa Claus. Hashtag Santa Claus. Come on, Santa, come back, man. I need you.
Oh gosh, that's so funny.
That
Oh.
was the idea of Santa. So that goes to my idea that you hear me replicate on some of our videos, that this nostalgia, this tradition has to be revamped again.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I showed you the older images, it really doesn't suffice for where the cultural mind state is now.
Mm-hmm.
My other intent was I was going to put an ear pod in his ear. The only reason why I didn't is because I was having a hard time showing that there's light coming from underneath the ear.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the interplay of the beard.
Mm-hmm.
So then now that means that I would have to play with a grooming idea on Santa Claus when there is no real grooming idea.
Mm-hmm.
The grooming idea is just he's immaculate.
Mm-hmm.
He's immaculate based upon what his good nature is.
Mm-hmm.
Irregardless of him being this wizard that's appearing in your house through what you call a chimney or a window, or just appearing in your house next to your tree.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the intent, to show what that guy would possibly look like now. And I was trying to give him a more rustic, wholesome, but I definitely wanted to get the twinkle, because in all the other eras, you know, Norman Rockwell and all these guys in those eras of the Post and doing, you know, advertisements and stuff, there's a certain thing that all of them caught was the twinkle idea.
Mm-hmm.
From looking at their art and the art of the mid-19th century of advertising, and I saw it, I was like, okay, well, it was mainly in those artists that dealt with illustrations and things like that, Western, but it's a characteristic, it's the twinkle idea, all the things that drive and you guys are attracted to, as far as the turning up of the mustache, the turning up of the crow's feet on the side of the face. These are what you would call, now I'm gonna mess with you, Nadine. Remember, I said to you, you have to figure out what happy lines are.
Yeah. What are happy lines? Crow's feet can be happy lines.
Well, happy lines now, you know, mimic what we say in society, what a happy face would be. what a happy experience would be. Those would be happy lines. And a lot of times you see they're curvilinear. They're not angular. Curvilinear lines always. Look at the arch on the eyelid going over the eyeball to give you that flickering feeling. Then the little bit of light in the middle of the eyeball, the pupil, that's the twinkle. Now, if you go and research the twinkle, if you do it online, they'll show you some, but if you really go and look back and start with Norman Rockwell and look at the artist that was around the time of Norman Rockwell, that was in competition with Norman Rockwell, this is how you find these artworks of Santa Claus and Christmas. And then you can look at the Netherlands and Switzerland and their ideas of the Nordic Santa Claus. And then you'll see that in all those depictions, there's something that all the artists were attempting to catch, which is what it is that I caught, which is the mischievous twinkle in the eye. Because if you go into some of the other stories of Santa Claus, you may formulate a different opinion on the understanding for yourself of what Santa Claus is, because it denotes a lot of other things spiritually too as well. I mean, you have spiritual or religious idea of an individual that was actually called Saint Nicholas. And Saint Nicholas is, from what the story says, and I'm paraphrasing, one day he was out and about, and he was a guy of prosperity, and he was hearing someone go through grief over economic challenges, and he just threw a bag of gold through the window. Did it a couple of times, and now he had a whole province of people looking for him, and they found out that it was Saint Nick. In the spirit of giving. And then attached to that, you had other little deities that would work with them, like a burnt-faced deity. That deity will be like elfin-like or elfin thought, like when you look at the Nordic idea, everybody. And once again, this is not Don saying this now. This is what's out there. You know what I mean? And they said, I don't forget the name of the Bolfus or something like that. Something with a B, the entity name is that helps and assists Santa Claus. Well, that's the little guy that does all the dirty work, they used to say. And if he was bad, if he was a bad kid, then he would come and get you, eradicate home. Sort of like the beginnings of the boogeyman. But he had links to Santa Claus, because since you was on that list and you was naughty, not nice, then that's when that, Santa Claus's helper would come and get you, rather than you seeing Santa Claus. And they called him the burnt-faced elf or things like this. And then others said, if you look in history, they said that was the Moors and things. So you get a lot of different perspectives on Santa Claus that are interesting. If you're a person that likes to research and look and know the different points of view, does that bring down the mythos of Santa Claus? I don't think it should. I don't think it should, nor, should we be upset about some of the usages of that particular idea of a guy that comes to your house with magic and happily leaves things for you to be happy because you live by some standard and some laws.
I was looking for the guy, the person that was that you said began with the letter B. I couldn't find it yet.
Yeah, you got to look at. I think you have to look at it from the angle of looking at the Nordic idea of Santa Claus, the German idea of Santa Claus, and it's a little elf. It's a deity that helps Santa Claus that transitions when he comes here as being a humble, loving helper. But in the original forms, it was seen as an individual or individuals that would come and get you because you was on the naughty list. It was negative, and they would come get your kids, and they would take all the naughty kids because they were, how we would say now, on demon time.
Not Bernard.
It's one of those in there, Nadine. I'm sorry I don't know the exact name. But look around the story of Santa Claus, the Nordic story of Santa Claus, 2 stories of Santa Claus or Saint Nick. Saint Nicholas, Saint Nickel,
Mhm.
you know, and you'll run into all these different stories that are coming from that Nordic area, that Nordic Slavic area, mountainous area.
Mhm.
Because remember, they gained their independence in the 1600s, came this way, and then that's where, when America starts to get formulated,
Mhm.
it's already getting formulated, but got its oomph from those Scandinavians.
Mhm.
So this is where a lot of those come from. And a lot of people would like to say, well, what about Canada? It comes across and down in Canada. Yeah, but it's the same Nordic Scandinavian idea when you're talking about Celtics and French and Frenchmen and stuff like that, and who was in those areas. That's still those Nordic races. Whether low or high, they still had the same folklore. They still had the same cultural stories.
Mhm.
So they would bring those things with them too as well over here to the Americas, as you say. And that's why we get our idea of Santa Claus. That changes all the time. He changes,
Mhm.
transforms into what is needed for the time period from what I've seen. So all I'm saying to people is what would be the disposition of the Santa Claus coming in your house now? Would you accept a 1950 Santa Claus coming in your house?
I would be wondering if I was dreaming.
You know, how about a 1930 Santa Claus? You know what I mean?
Same thing, because when you think about it, the first thing you're looking at is the type of clothing, the way in which it's stitched is going to tell you a lot about the time of day or year. And then the
Mhm.
other thing is the brightness of the colors, or various colors that you would see that might give you a hint of what time frame you're in.
Right.
And and you, of course, you're going to look at the boots. You kind of like, you're going to look to see if he's got elves, and reindeer, and what kind of sled does he have.
Because if you look at all of that, all of those fictions that we didn't even talk about, you'll see that they all have Nordic or Scandinavian
Yes.
motifs,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
dips into the whole Islamic Moroccan thing,
Yeah.
because that's where those cultures intermingle a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it, the tassels, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Why would somebody in Scandinavia need a tassel?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? You just got to ask yourself those type of questions. Now, a hat like the Santa Claus has on here, yeah, it's feasible. Yeah, I think somebody would have a hat on like that in Scandinavia.
Mm-hmm.
Nova Scotia in Canada. You know what I mean? I could see a hat like that, Alaska. Yeah, big old fuzzy hat like that. Has to be. Because then think about this. He's in the upper atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
He's in high winds. He's in the trade wind. If you really want to take this imaginary idea there, or this mythos there, you have to really physically see what his journey is.
And
Now,
how
he
does
couldn't
he
have
keep his hat on?
he couldn't have a polyester cotton blend. Everything has to be tactical.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has to be real materials. Santa Claus stuff is fly. He's decked out. He's the first pimp.
The first pimp.
Yeah. Think about it. Could somebody look like that coming into your house and you be okay with it right now?
Yep. Yeah, you think about the pimp with the fur coming in and just like,
Thank you. The boots, got the boots on, big buckles, big gold buckles. I mean, when I was younger, that's what I saw. I thought Santa Claus was the pimp. That's the way I saw it. And then when I got older, getting into high school and college, I got confirmations. A lot of professors and a lot of elders, unpronounced to me, thought the same thing.
I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, he's a magical pimp. He's a wizard, a
Yeah.
warlock of the light. So they say in the Western world.
Hmm.
Over in Europe, that you may hear differently.
Hmm.
That all right? That leads into the whole phenomenon of people painting their faces black and their lips red over in Germany and Scandinavia.
Mm-hmm.
This is where a lot of that is coming out of this Scandinavian Santa Claus version that I made. Because think about it, if you think back to when Shirley Temple was doing movies, she did a movie, and the Santa Claus in that movie, he had a view like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my mind went when I started thinking Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
But then my thing would be, the hat would be different. The hat would be more so right there on the side of his face, more pimpish.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're showing, the whole thing is to show off,
Mm-hmm.
show my grandeur, to show my, you know what I mean, my beauty, to show how wonderful I am.
I'll never look at Santa Claus the same again.
See, the twinkle is all about his luminous,
Yeah.
you know, his glow is his luminous aura, his wisdom aura.
Mm-hmm.
Because how else does he know not to throw you and put you on the naughty list?
Right.
For his other little dominions that assist him to collect. Because think about it, he's collecting and delivering.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people don't look at.
Mm-hmm.
Santa Claus is flying by and he's collecting and he's showing up in houses that bear the mark.
Mm-hmm.
That Christmas, those cookies and that drink.
Mm-hmm.
Then he leaves you a note and then he's out of there. I know it's funny, right?
It is
But
really funny. You
that's
don't come through the front door.
If you don't have a chimney, he just appears.
He just poof.
He never came down my fire. He never came up my fire escape. You hear what I said? Not down my fire escape, up it. He
Mm-hmm.
never came up my fire escape. I was on the 4th floor, the top of the building. I used to wait to hear if I can hear the hooves on the roof. My mom was just like, this boy is just, oh my God, go to bed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just realize when you asked me earlier, what was the force behind this? You're hearing it now. I wanted to wait to tell you. That's what I wanted to tell you. The imagination of young Don as a child,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the idea of Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm older and I really understand it because I investigated it from every angle that you can investigate it. And I really enjoy the story of Santa Claus, whether positive or negative. I enjoy the mythos of the idea of somebody that's a light bringer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's bringing the light, but then he's also bringing the darkness if you was in that dark mode.
Right.
If you didn't abide by rules and regulations and the standard ones that's out there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even the ones that just were written out in your genetic coding, you have rules that's there. That's how you know when you're younger. Check it with somebody that's 4 years old and younger.
Mm-hmm.
And watch how they act when they give sympathy and empathy. Where are they learning from?
Mm-hmm.
When a kid looks at you and you try to take a chip and say, no, 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 no. Look on YouTube and look at all those bloopers of kids that's not sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the funniest but most satirical thing that you can see. Where are they learning from?
I don't know. Even if the parent tells them not to touch it and that they go in the other room, they said, don't touch it. If you want to do X, Y, and Z, do not touch it until after 2 p.m. or something. And you can see them working hard not to touch it.
Exactly.
A lot of them can't make it.
They don't make it. You
They
know
don't
what I
make
mean?
it at all.
What's naughty and what's nice? What is really that? Because think about it. Technically, the kid is wrong if they touch. So if Santa Claus comes, why does he have the wisdom to understand the difference then?
Mm-hmm.
See, everybody don't look at that in our Western world. We don't look at those aspects of Santa Claus. We just look at the getting.
Mm-hmm.
The giving is secondary to most. We worry about the getting, the receiving.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you look at the whole reasoning on what the story is built up for, and the idea of the humbleness of receiving and the reasonings why of receiving is discounted, thrown away. Now we don't need to talk about that, man. Nah, Well, you know, when you stole that 25 cents from grandma, was you naughty or was you nice?
And how did he know when he was up in the North Pole?
Right. Kind of wizard is this? You know what I mean? He's only worried about when I'm doing bad things.
Yeah.
What about what's in the note about what I did good? Very little on those pages, my friend. You know what I mean?
It's
So you
crazy.
don't look at that. I remember my mom used to use that on me. Well, Donald, you know, person in school, so that's one against you. But I would
Right.
be like, but I stopped doing it.
Hmm.
You lied to the teacher about doing your homework, and I had to get on you. Yeah, but I wound up getting a B in that class.
Right.
You see, so I would defend my. This was the back and forth with my mom. Her using the idea, not saying that Santa Claus is real. She's just using the idea.
Hmm.
She's checking my list. You know what I mean? She's saying when I was naughty. Then when she finished all that, I said, okay, so what's with my good list, my nice list? I know I got a whole bunch there. But the point remaining is that we as a society now, we don't look at that side. We only look at the giving.
Hmm.
And it's like Santa Claus has blinders on in his giving, or he has a dementia in his giving. That's the way it got it set up right now. If you look at it,
Hmm.
that's what I said. Would you accept, or would the 1950s Santa Claus accept even coming into your house?
Hmm.
Would he fly over your area and say, "Oh no, I'm not doing this again"? No. Look, do you see? Do you see these people nodding out on what they call Kensington Avenue? You see this? Oh, I can't fly over this madness. What am I? What is this new strange smell that I'm smelling in the upper atmosphere? What is going on? That would be Santa Claus flying over right now. He would have to deal with all this nonsense that's going on.
Hmm.
Ask yourself, would he visit the household?
Hmm.
I don't know. You would have to ask if that Santa Claus from the 1950s would do that. The newer Santa Claus that I got up, I don't know. I would, if I saw him in my house, I probably would look at him like, "Hey man, what you doing in here, man?" He probably
Right.
would joke,
I
"How
think
you
you're in the
doing?"
wrong house.
Yeah, you know, something like that. Like just to give a different idea of what that Santa Claus would be in this new era, because he wouldn't look like the Santa Claus from the 30s,
Hmm.
40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 90s, maybe.
I don't know.
But the Daddy Warbucks Santa Claus is gone.
Hmm.
That's the Santa Claus that I was trying to evoke here.
Hmm.
The one with Shirley Temple in the black and white movie, Santa
Hmm.
Claus Takes Fifth Avenue, or Christmas on Fifth Avenue, something like that. I forget the name of it, but it's a traditional one that everybody used to watch. It's probably on Ted Turner Classics now. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And you can watch that movie with Shirley Temple, and I forget the gentleman's name that played Santa Claus in there.
Hmm.
But it's during the era of when they would have the rich bankers,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And that's where the term Daddy Warbucks is coming out of.
Hmm.
And Daddy Warbucks is like a Santa Claus type of figure, but then Daddy Warbucks was used in the 70s as an idea or a thought into pimpism.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because Daddy Warbucks was seen as the man that had money. He's the dad. That's why people would call him Daddy.
Hmm.
The money, the influence, the connections, the know-how. Well, don't Santa Claus have that to be able to fly around undetected?
Mm. That's why
Think
we have
about
NORAD.
right. Would Santa Claus be a UFO? What would he be described as in the sky if they let
Yes,
it?
it wouldn't be a UFO. He would be the new term that they have.
Yeah, USOs or something like that, or UTOs or something like that. I forget what it is. But would Santa Claus fit in one of those other new terminologies rather than being a UFO?
Maybe.
You
Wow.
know, I mean, it's interesting if you look at the real deal on what Santa Claus is supposed to represent.
Hmm.
and not just the capitalistic, westernized American United States. And yes, I am American, everybody. I don't want you to think that I'm saying I'm a foreigner. No, I'm born, indigenous, born and bred, Brooklyn, New York, and I'm a representative or depiction within the Mid-Atlantic region. Spawned from the southern regions. You know what I mean? Like most in my category are spawns from the southern regions, sprinkled upon the northern region. So they say.
So they say.
Yeah. So the whole idea of Santa Claus, rethink it, revamp it, pull out the stuff. That's why if you notice, if you look at horror movies, the horror movie of Santa Claus doesn't really get a lot of looks over. It's in those B-rate horror movie categories now, and it's like that with the clowns, the killer clown idea.
There are a lot of people that don't like clowns.
Right, yeah, but it's the same thing with Santa Claus. A lot of people don't want to see a negative connotation on Santa Claus. They have uplifted him from all negativity. There's no way Santa Claus can be negative in our society. That would crush a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm being honest, if you have this conversation, you can really get into arguments over Santa Claus. You know, you have different Pentecostal ways of looking at Santa Claus, Baptist ways of looking at Santa Claus. You have different vantage points and points of views on what the Santa Claus is, everybody. And just realizing in some situations, you know, you could, you know, really be stepping into a real bad argument, almost to a religious idea.
Yeah, it'd be very controversial.
Yeah. Because now if you argue the pigmentation of Santa Claus, then that's where another argument comes in. Because if you look at the St. Nicholas version, you might find out something. And if you look from that St. Nicholas Scandinavian idea, you might find out something. And then you might find out why some people call Santa Claus's cap a fez. Yeah. You look that one up too. It's in there. Like how, like in Walt Disney in the Fantasia movie, the Mickey Mouse hat on his hat. You notice how that hat flopped down? What did that hat look like? It looked like Santa Claus's hat. But then when he started doing the magic, then that's when the hat stood straight up with the tassel on top.
Oh, okay.
The waves and everything. Now the hat is not flopping no more. It's standing straight up.
Okay.
Erect on his head.
And that's something. That is something.
The original of Santa Claus in his descriptions, he has like the solstice and in the celestial beings in the tapestry of his clothing. So that's why in N.C. Wise's version, you have Santa Claus with a bag with the sun, moon, and stars on it, on the back, because that denotes the idea of Santa Claus being a wizard, a watcher, a time traveler. Think about all the things that go into Santa Claus's movement. I know we didn't mean to go there, everybody, but just enjoying bringing it out. Tonight's session just became something about the critical thoughts on what is a drawing and the placement of a drawing and how drawings places itself in society and in the marketplace.
Yeah, and you know what? I just thought about the fact that I was in Alaska and I went to the so-called North Pole, where,
right.
Of course, probably would have been a bigger deal if I was much younger.
Right. You know the deal, because it's where Santa Claus is supposed to be residing.
Right.
Where they're not letting us know where Santa Claus is hanging out and doing
Right.
his magic.
And there were so many people that were leaving letters from kids writing to Santa Claus that were
Yes,
going.
no thing.
It's just like,
Right now, you can text
wow.
Santa Claus.
There's actually an address.
The PO box.
Yeah.
This is what's being done in the new era with the children of the era, with what this tradition is all about.
Mhm.
Because if the parent doesn't say, okay, let's send a letter and I put it in the mailbox, it really doesn't hit the mailbox.
But there's
But now
actually a place where you can send it.
in hashtagging Santa Claus, and you got a thing where it says hashtag Santa Claus list. And from what I researched and saw, they have a year-round Santa Claus list.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that.
What you say, Sue Ann?
I just said, oh, really?
Yeah, it's for real. I'm being honest. You'll be shocked, everybody. I'm being honest. You'll be like, whoa, I didn't realize. And then that's when you'll see it's not me saying this. I'm really saying it because if you look in our society, we have a lot more newer beings on the planet that don't know these traditions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To the point now, I did this rendition. I've had some kids text me, or not text me, or email, message me and said, who's that supposed to be? Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so then look at how distorted imagery and traditional imagery is in our society today.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas that's why I say when I'm instructing people and doing classes and portraiture, I always bring up all the nostalgia that I can bring up so that how would you say, to embark upon people the idea that we have to revamp and redo these ideas for all these newer people that's on the planet.
Mm.
Because that's what we're suffering from. What is Santa Claus? What is, these other holidays? Does a rabbit really come out of an egg, or does a chicken come out of an egg?
What comes first?
Right. We all know a chicken comes out of an egg, and the other part, what came first, we're still in dilemma about. But we definitely know that, directly speaking, a rabbit doesn't come from a hard shell egg.
Mm-hmm.
You see? But what I found is the newer individuals don't have a grasp of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then you have to look into the idea of what does a misunderstanding or a misinterpretation of a myth does to a human psyche.
Mm-hmm.
What type of individual am I building if I give them a double mythos within inside a myth?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
Yeah, it does bother the psyche, but what type of result do we get? Is it what we're getting now? The way individuals are acting now? This is a question that we have to ask. Because when we was in a biblical training session, you didn't have all of this opening.
Mm-hmm.
So now the biblical tradition is not being used in a high percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So now if you really look at society, they're searching for that next thing that unifies and humbles human beings, corrects and does things to human beings.
Aliens.
Yeah.
Drone aliens.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm
And when people said that to me, I said, okay, then why are they giving out licenses that cost $170 to get? And then when you look on the marketplace, there's 160,000 new jobs on the marketplace in America on the
Right.
Eastern Seaboard for drone pilots.
Yeah.
And then that's when people stop calling me again.
Yeah.
Because I let people know you're not looking around you. They're counting on you they're counting on you being smart, not observant.
Yeah.
That's why I prefer being observant.
Mm-hmm.
Because observation says, okay, I'm gonna look. Okay, it looks familiar to what other things we've made already.
Yeah.
So let me check and see if they really got the pilot thing together for these drones. Oh, yep, they got licenses out there.
Yeah.
It only costs $170 to get a drone license.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's like a quarter of somebody's check.
Well, you do
That's
have to pass the test to fly it.
You gotta pass the test, yes, but the factor that it's just $170
Yeah, it's
to
not a
be able
lot
to
of
use
money.
a job that's going to be 6 figures or more.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
these can be contract and non-contractual and corporate positions.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, in answer to when people was calling me and saying, oh my God, these drones, nobody knows who they are. I said, you better stop lying to me. Somebody knows it. Here in America, they have control of the airspace. So if they can send out, in my time when I was in the military, if it took 5 seconds or 5 minutes for them to get to any situation over the American skyline, no, it's even less than that now. They can get a fighting flight,
A
fighting,
lot faster, yeah.
yeah, in like 3 seconds to a certain time zone
Mm-hmm.
now. No,
Yeah,
don't tell me what was going on.
yeah,
They don't.
and here's the other thing about that in talking about observation is
Mhm.
that people were describing the lights that were going in and on and off on these
Oh, you talking about the beacon? You talking about the beacon? Oh, the laser? Oh, the beacon?
the beacons. Well,
Right,
but that is part of what you're supposed to have on those drones.
right.
And
That's
so
how you
if there's anything other than that, they wouldn't have legal lighting stuff to
to
identify
let you
itself as legal.
right.
You
That's how
know?
you know in concept if those lights is bleeping on and off on there.
Yes, and there's certain colors and you know, and then they don't want to shoot them down. But like if they come down, everything has a serial number and has a there every drone has a flight. It has a drone number that is tied that is licensed to you. You register it at the FAA. You know, there's all these things, and I mean,
That's why they up
mhm,
because people started to shoot at them
mhm,
in the Mid Atlantic region,
mhm.
in our region, especially in the northwestern region.
That's why we have guns to shoot down drones. No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
It's the truth though. They started shooting at these things, and then that's when they started. Then that's when they fessed up. Oh, they're ours.
Hmm.
Oh, they know Bill. What were they out for? Well, there was one report out that they were out for what? Some type of scare of a bomb or something they was trying to say.
Missing dangerous materials.
Right.
We won't say the
That's
word.
exactly.
But missing
So,
dangerous materials that they were searching for. Yes, that was one of them. Yes.
right. So as soon as I heard all of that, I was like, no, that's not what you think, everybody. Stop. Your imaginations are going too far. Since some of you've never seen anything that challenged anything, you know, think about it. Somebody's in their 30s right now. They haven't been through a lot in their adult years now.
Hmm.
So think about it over the last 20 years, what has happened to
Hmm.
reveal what this is all about. We had the Twin Tower situation.
Yeah.
We have a couple of airplanes that fell down. Nothing else really catastrophic, right?
Hmm. Except, you know,
Now, what matches to the Vietnam War,
right.
the Gulf of Tonkin War,
Hmm.
Panama Canal War?
Hmm.
See what I'm saying? The experiences of this new fleet of individuals
Hmm.
is very minimal and limited.
Hmm.
So since they have no experience base really, then everything is extreme to them.
Hmm.
But after 49 years old, 45 years old, you've seen the residual of some things
Hmm.
and you actually seen some things.
Hmm.
So you was raised by the individuals that were coming out of Vietnam War. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whereas now we're raising certain kids and we didn't have any experiences to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the Gulf War.
Yeah.
You see? So, you know, you have to really look at it. So it's sensationalism that's ruling the day too as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sole reason why I brought that up.
The plot is only going to thicken.
Yeah, because now that you have AI able to fool everybody with audio and visual display,
Mm-hmm.
now the plot thickens because now if you're just solely worried about looking at the screen, you have to second guess if this is real now because of the efficiency of AI to make these images on screen.
Mm-hmm.
You can manipulate the vibration of sound.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got people screaming like in the new Diddy stuff that's a distractor, saying that most of that stuff is a farce because it's AI generated.
Mm-hmm.
But then where's the real footage and where's the AI? What's the separation? That's the new nuance.
Mm-hmm. Once again, you got to be very observant to the material you're looking at or whatever you're looking at it. You can see it.
Right, because they're using sensationalism as a grooming device.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, look at it. You're using sensationalism as a grooming device
Mm-hmm.
to control attention, so much so that we have a new term, going viral.
Going viral.
Yeah.
The story was so sticky, it went viral.
Yeah, it was so intriguing. It had so much traction in the human
So much
experience.
noise.
Right, but it's like, why does it have noise and traction? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's stepping on the idea of what's human
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as the soul of the sneaker or shoe that it's in.
Mm-hmm. Henceforth,
Uh,
the power of symbolism. How we
all of
use
it.
symbolism.
Yeah. Now it all works together now on a light display.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the reason why they haven't given you other phenomena is because they have to work out holography
Mm-hmm.
and the
They're working
understanding.
on it.
Yeah, yeah, and the understanding of showing things in gases.
Mm-hmm.
Then you know you may see a phenomenon or two, but they're not gonna. The people that are doing these things, or the individuals that's in charge of doing these things, they know human psyche enough to know that because of this internet and because of the computer, people are more observant than smart.
Mm-hmm.
Smart notates the idea of book smarts.
Mm-hmm.
Observancy denotes the idea of the more natural.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so you can gain intelligence from observation,
Mm-hmm.
and you can attain intelligence from just understanding and research,
Mm-hmm.
which is still a form of observation. Yes, that's what people try to argue, but what I'm saying is it's a different type of observation where you're reading and you're regurgitating what others have experienced to be
Mm-hmm.
able to come up with your thought or your analysis or your synopsis. Whereas if you're observant, natural, holistic, you're dealing with it right in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the phenomenon right then and there, and I'm being resolute. If I'm not resolute, then you might die in a situation, or you might get sick. But nonetheless, I'm observing the phenomenon to be able to resolve it or distract it or borrow it.
Mm-hmm.
Use the powers of observation, which is the scientific method.
Mm-hmm.
And if people wanted to argue that, I say, well, why argue that? That's why the street person outdoes the scholastic person a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
That the street person is dealing with the right there, the right now, the boldness to be impulsive. whereas the scholastic is trying to be strategic, but sometimes may strategize themselves out of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the street person, a lot of times, does what? Seizes the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, Andy Warhol and them is hanging out at this one restaurant where they get, you know, pancakes and stuff where everybody, let me go over there and see if it's really true. Oh, I'm gonna sit out front. Oh, that's them. Word? No. Let me get a couple of those cards I gave you. Yeah, let's go. All right. What you doing? Hey, you want some art? You know what I mean?
Right.
And they start conversing with one of the iconic artists of the era right at a small diner because the person had street impulses
Mm-hmm.
rather than scholastic impulses.
Mm-hmm.
Street impulses says, oh, that's the connect. That's the guy I need to get next to those guys that got what I want. Totally different mind state. That's why, you know, a street person or, you know, the proverbial, now, excuse me for saying this like this, house slave and field slave, that's the difference between those two.
Mm-hmm.
All those ideas come out when you look at it, you yin and yang in the situation. That's what that really is, everybody, that's being displayed.
Mm-hmm.
So I would rather be, once again, more observant matter than to be smart.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah, you know. And sorry we made it around Santa Claus, but we made it around the interpretation on how does this stuff work in the open market and in the minds of human beings. And it's still a theory, everything I said. Somebody has the opportunity to go out to disprove the theory.
Right.
Does the term pencil denote the intensity of the work?
Mm. The power of graphite.
Or the term
Mm-hmm.
graphite and the term pencil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the term, by using pencil, does that degrade the thought process?
Mm.
No.
Maybe just the psyche of the person who
Well,
is
that's what I'm.
observing it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm alluding towards because that becomes the issue. It depends. If you're around a bunch of people that believe they're elite, then they may look at your artwork and say, "Oh, how nice, you know, pencil drawing."
Mm-hmm.
And I've had that happen.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of, you know, little high-end places, you have artists that are that, you know, that feel that way, and they'll look at you and say, "Oh, wow, you know, that's great. You did pencil drawings." And then I would come back at them and say, "No, this is a graphite drawing."
Oh.
Excuse me. I said, "Yeah, this is a graphite drawing. It's not a pencil drawing."
Mm.
Change the terminology. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That was, you know, when I was a little bit more arrogant and angry about it, I would say it a certain way, and then my point would come across, but then that's when I would get people coming back, well, can you say it a different way? And then I would say, because they didn't worry about how they said it to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I showed some decorum. I didn't use any vulgar statement with it. I just said, you know, it's graphite. And then using the term graphite, you know, brings a better light on it. But with the people that know, it doesn't affect at all because they know a pencil is graphite.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was drinking some of the last bit of my coffee.
No, but
Um,
it's just really interesting. I mean, this is all
Schematics or
yeah.
semantics.
Yes.
Yeah. But look at the power in that when you look at the open market. Look at how things are described on the internet. And look at how many times you see the idea pencil drawing in a person that's saying that they're a serious artist as a description.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And if it's used, what type of light is the artist casting? If they casting in a savant idea,
Mm-hmm.
because you'll find it there too when you have these people that they call savants. You know, autistic people that have high creative ability, mentally challenged individuals that have high creative ability.
Mm.
You really have to call it what it is, you know. And in a lot of those descriptions, they will say pencil drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So I challenge everybody to go look, take a look, see, do the observation, the research,
Mm-hmm.
and see how the term or the idea of the word pencil is used.
Mm.
You know, now I'm not saying it's a negative. I'm just saying this is how it's used. It's our job here at Let's Paint and Draw Along is just to shed some light on some of those things and get people to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I know from our conversations, Nadine and I gathered that, and that's why I love stuff like this too, because you don't really hear these type of conversations in other situations.
No, you don't.
You know, and it's my thought now. I can say this: it's my thought that a lot of individuals look at art sometimes as just being recreational
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and not as total glue to humankind and human condition,
Mm-hmm.
or mankind and man condition, however you want to say it. How important expression is to our condition.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's important when you're buying a comic book.
It's most important when you're buying an automobile, when you're buying a house.
Okay. When you're buying clothes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you look at the lines, shapes, and the forms, and the
Mm-hmm.
way the surface is, and the way the light hits the surface of those items that you're going to purchase?
Yeah.
Like, it's a good thing with me that I just keep saying it. I don't mind to keep saying it because I know that's the reality. Line, shape, form, light, and surface is what makes up everything to be human, and we use all of that to do everything in our existence.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's based upon some type of manipulation of an edge, which we call a line.
Mm-hmm.
Every last one of those edges or lines formulates a shape that denotes towards what a form is and how something has depth and breadth.
Mm-hmm.
And then to bring the drama, we see the light and the interplay of light and the surface quality or the top layer of those items or forms that we see.
Mm-hmm.
And if I swear to you, if everybody looks around them, you see it. You see this at work right here. This all day at work.
Mm-hmm.
Line, shape, form, light, surface. Texture movements with edges.
Yeah.
The more that you connect with those ideas, I'm telling you, you're able to manipulate into, I would say, replicate anything in your world and things that are unseen.
Mm-hmm.
So you're able to manipulate the seen and unseen thought. And that's why a pencil drawing can be more than an oil painting based upon the timing that it was done in and what was its intent
Mm-hmm.
and who was wielding the material, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
that is the difference. And the difference that we're talking about is what we call style.
Mm.
And style is nothing more than the manipulation of the individual with said material.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, smudging can be done the same way. We both smudge the same way, but then my intent of smudging and your intent of smudging will be two different things.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that would stay constant is the source on where we're depicting from.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when I was in this session with the individual, I was showing them the platonic solace idea and how you would use lines and how you would use those lines to show a line, shape, form, light, and surface.
Mm-hmm.
And then each one of those interpretations, all the way down to the eye and the movement of the strokes down at the bottom there, you can see that it's alluding towards certain ideas and things. But they're just placements of lines and marks.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Clement Greenberg has excused us for talking art.
Mm-hmm.
It's just some graphite on a piece of paper. You know, it's just some paint on a piece of material. You know,
Yeah.
so most of these thoughts, they're not just mine; they're my observations.
Mm-hmm.
And world history, world, and all that stuff is, and then you look at it and say, "Oh, it's still prevalent and relevant right now."
Mm-hmm.
Then what you find is in all other aspects of human, condition, of human experience at that. Would you have religion without somebody manipulating line, shape, form, light, and surface?
I don't know.
Right? Would you have most concepts that you have out there today?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody didn't manipulate those items up there to be able to give you a depiction of what something may or may not be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like anything else. It's up to the population to say yay or nay. So if
Mm-hmm.
you get more yays and nays, it says what? It has validity.
Mm-hmm.
It
It
has that
means
thing.
something.
Yeah, it has that thing. It
Mm-hmm.
has that je ne sais quoi, you know what I mean? And
Wow.
all that other good stuff that they say,
Yeah.
which is nothing more than the individual has a high sensitivity in that material
Mm-hmm.
to relate this world the way that they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly that's what it boils down to. That's why I say the computer has a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
The only way it's winning now is because everybody is focused on the screen
Mm-hmm.
because it gives instant gratification
Mm-hmm.
to the point where you may hear somebody say that term the way I said earlier. Oh, that's a pencil drawing
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying to say that their Pro Tools outweighs a pencil drawing.
Mm. Then why do they have pencil in the Pro Tools?
Thank you.
You know?
Well,
Why on a computer you're gonna put pencil?
we have to look at that. That's another term that's called a stylus now. So they brung back up an older term and bring it into a new. Isn't it called a stylus?
Yeah, but you can still like there'll still be a pencil line, like
I
as an
know,
option for
and,
texture.
I'm picking different values of lines that I can pick at any
Right,
moment and
right.
change them.
And one of them, yeah, the stylus gives you the opportunity to have different,
The stylus is matched to the idea of a wand.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Magic.
There you go.
Yeah,
Because you're making hypothetical movements with a rubber stylus on a piece of plastic or glass.
yeah,
And now you're saying that you're drawing.
yeah. But
That's where we're to the point where they'll belittle an actual pencil drawing.
yes.
And that's when the word pencil becomes derogatory.
Mhm.
Other than that, no. You didn't hear the word pencil really being used as derogatory or belittling until the mid 1990s,
Mhm.
2000.
Mhm.
Because before then, it was proven that it can be something like a watercolor painting or painting.
Mm-hmm.
And it had only been in that mode since what? Since the 1930s, basically.
Mm-hmm.
As a drawing being seen as a commodity, not just a means to get to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, a lot of people don't know that these are thoughts that are in the marketplace about certain things that we take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really re-examine it and re-look at it, then you can find these things, you get total understanding. And that's all I'm saying at that.
Yeah.
Yep. So with all that being said, find out a way for yourself to manipulate a line, everybody, and engage yourself in understanding the true essence on the manipulation of graphite. And then try to find out, what does the meaning of the word pencil mean to you?
What does pencil mean to you? Yeah. It just really comes down to that, y'all. It really does. You know? Open your eyes. Because when it's open, it's on. You know? Definitely.
That's
Yep.
where all my came from, the actual application of what's going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
That's where most terms come from.
Mm-hmm.
Application of the happenings of the occurrences of that time,
Mm-hmm.
to make it a cultural experience.
And don't worry whether it's a pencil or a pen or a Sharpie marker or whatever. We're just saying create. Just keep
Yeah,
creating, you
yeah,
know.
I'm creating and be aware of what you have in your hand.
Yes, it is about being aware, know the material, get to know it, and
Right.
uh, and
That's
just
the main.
yep, get to know it, every aspect of it, master it. If you're gonna say master it, learn every aspect of it, try it, like study it, test it, do different things. Don't be afraid to say, "Oh, I can't do that with this." Try it, because you never know what might yield from that experimental phase, you know. So I don't know. How far can you go with pencil? How far can you go with graphite?
I gave you two figures that use it, Charles White and John Biggers. You
Yep.
have a European male by the name of Paul Cadmus.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have all these other genres that prove that pencil is a very viable and powerful utensil to use to
Mm-hmm.
garner.
Yeah. So check them out, everybody. Check them out. Oh my goodness, Don. It's almost 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
Where did the time go? Definitely. Well, you've been watching Let's Paint and Draw Along, where we were talking about making something from nothing, but going even beyond that, because nothing is not the material called graphite or pencil. That's more than nothing. It's something. That's all I have to say. Because Don made something from nothing when he made Santa Claus, that picture of Santa Claus he had. And that was something. That's all. That was a lot of something from nothing. I'm just saying. But it's really really great sharing this experience and talking about lines and talking about um how we describe the materials that we use in the pieces and how that might impact the interpretations other people might have when they're looking at your work. But also just,
if we're talking about the idea of the manipulation of a material, graphite, and it's
mhm,
not just the work, it's just the work that was being seen at the time, but the understanding that graphite is pencil and pencil is only worth who's willing it, who's wielding the apparatus.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's.
That's really it. It's the same thing with paint and every other material.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be able to pull the wonders of that material and let you see the true essence of thought at play?
Right. Yeah. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Well, awesome, everybody. We're coming to the end of a beautiful year, 2024. My name is Nadine O, and I'm here with Don Stephens. And our whole wish is for you to keep creating wonderful drawings and paintings like old Saint Nick there, and anything and everything else that you might be doing. And that the fact that it's all about just being observant and just enjoying the journey of creating. And we hope.
We done said all that. We done reiterated it 4 times. We Virginia goodbye everybody, aren't we?
I know it's the end of the year. I want everyone to stay excited about creating. So with that, keep creating, everybody. Keep creating. All righty.